Hi there. This sad-looking, crying girl had to just spend her first night in the home she just bought. She was surrounded by mice, the heating didn't work, and it was about 4 degrees. And she was roughly 2 hours away from anyone she knew. Not off to the best start here at Morrigan's cottage. If you're new to my videos, Morrigan's cottage is a 200-year-old Irish stone cottage based in the west of Ireland, sitting on about 4 acres of wet land. And 2 years ago, I became the proud owner of all this. Year 1 was very up and down, but things felt exciting and fresh. I drove 2.5 hours each way every Saturday to come and check on the house and to get things going. Here in Ireland, we have a vacant house grant, where most houses that have been empty for over 2 years could qualify for a reimbursement of up to €50,000 after renovating the house. So the first thing I did was get applying for that. The process took about 6 months to gather all the required documents and 6 months for the county council to come out and approve it. So the first year was spent doing little bits that I could around the house, painting it all white to help me find damp spots, stripping back plaster and old damp concrete. Year 1 felt like a complete mess, and a roller coaster of up and downs, delays with the grant, discovering problem after problem with the house, and losing my gran. There were quite a few hard times. But at the end of year 1, we had the grant pre-approved, financing from the bank, and the builders booked for the new year. So really, things could only look up for year 2. On the back of grant approval, I really got working hard on getting the house ready for when the builders were coming. My biggest project was to finish removing the plaster and to get the old stone walls raked out and repointed. This was a cold, dusty job in what can only be described as a damp and grim room. But I pushed on. I was still working full-time in Dublin at this point, so I was scrambling most weekends to get down to the house and get projects complete. Time was of the essence. Repointing is one of those jobs that feels like it goes on forever, but it is very relaxing and calming as well. I was new to repointing, so after watching some YouTube videos on how to mix the lime and how to do the actual repointing, I got to work. This is something I'm most proud of completing. Knowing that the 200-year-old walls would hopefully last another 100 years or so on the back of my repointing felt like I've added a little history to the old house. Being able to touch the stone walls that held so many memories from times past was such a weird but special feeling. Not forgetting we found a 30-million-year-old fossil in the wall too. As we slipped into December, it was time to decorate for Christmas. The first Christmas I owned the house, I didn't get to spend any time there, because I didn't have a car yet, so I couldn't travel from Dublin. But this Christmas, I was going to make it special. Lights went up on the front of the house. I decorated a small Christmas tree for the kitchen. Some of the decorations you see were sent from friends who I made through having this YouTube channel, or from my family. Things were really looking up, and the vibes were very high. But then mid-December rolled around, and the start of the rockiest time in my life began. Storm Ashley, and then quickly after Storm Dara, a 140km/h windstorm, battered the west coast of Ireland. Without realising it was coming, I was down working on the house with Morrigan when the weather began to turn that Friday night. We toughed it out till Saturday morning, but when the power cut, we knew it was time to leave. Here at Morrigan's cottage, the water runs from a well, and you need to have electricity to keep that pump moving the water into the house. So with no electrics, no water and no heat, there wasn't much we could do to stay. So back up to my parents' house in Dublin we went. The power was out for 11 days after Storm Dara. This really opened my eyes up to the storm season here in the west of Ireland. It's definitely a tough one. While this was happening at the cottage, life personally got very hard. In mid-December, my poor baby Morrigan had an accident that left her needing double eye surgery. Even thinking back on it now is upsetting. In a freak accident while playing with her sister Bonya, Mari got a claw to the eye that left a deep puncture, needing a graft. This was Mari's good eye, so hearing that she could potentially have permanent vision damage was so scary. At the same time, the eye surgeons corrected the cherry eye that Mari suffered on and off with. Her recovery took about 6 weeks, and thankfully now she is fine, but that was so scary to go through, and I still don't leave her alone with the cats just in case. The same day that Morrigan had her eye surgery, my nan went into hospital. She fought hard to get better so that she could be home for Christmas or the New Year, but unfortunately we lost her in January, just 6 months after losing my gran. To say December and January last year were hard would be a huge understatement. And if things couldn't get any worse, we had one more superstorm to contend with, Storm Owen, the worst storm recorded in Ireland's history. Thankfully for this storm, I was up in Dublin, but poor Morrigan's cottage got a battering. Our favourite tree in the garden blew down, and the roofs from my outhouses quite literally blew away. But by some miracle, the house stood. After this storm, there was no power for 15 days. Again, I stayed up in Dublin, but I knew in the future that wouldn't always be an option, so I had to get planning for future storms. January rolled into February, and despite dealing with so much personally, the show did still have to go on. Repointing still needed to be done, and I also needed to clear out as much of the house as possible, because the builders were coming. By the end of February, Desi and Francis arrived. You'll know them from their own channel, DG Developments, or from seeing them at the Irish Homestead and the Camper Vibes. They are your go-to old house experts. They arrived at the end of February, and suddenly a very slow renovation process sped up about 100 times. First project was the roof. They had it taken off within a day. The roof build left them scratching their heads because, as it turns out, it wasn't even connected to the house. They laughed as they told me it was probably the worst roof build they'd ever seen, and how it survived the last 2 storms they honestly didn't know. While they were working hard on the house, they did from time to time give me projects. The most fun one was painting the walls in behind where the radiators were going to be placed. It started to feel like there was progress and we were going to have a home. I also worked on my own special projects, retreeing my property. The 4 wet acres of land were in desperate need of some trees. We had no shelter from strong westerly winds, and also nothing to help soak up the wet ground after heavy rains. So I got to work. Thanks to the charity Free Trees Ireland, I was able to get into the ground 38 native Irish trees, all grown from seeds planted here in Ireland of tree types indigenous to Irish land. Not a lot of people know, but Ireland has one of the highest levels of deforestation and some really terrible environmental laws. There's not a huge amount of protection for biodiversity here, so to be able to start planting native trees on my own land was something special, and hopefully in 10 years I'll be able to show you these trees standing tall. So far, most of the trees have survived. Another task I decided to take on while the builders were here was the big cleanup. My poor dad got the call again to come and help me fill the skips with some really awful rubbish. I promise one day he will get a social invite rather than a come and help me with an awful job invite. The weeks were speeding up at this point, and suddenly it was mid-May and the builders were done. €65,000 later, and you can really see the difference in the home. Room to room there are improvements. Floors levelled, walls stabilised, electrics replaced, heating fitted, and plumbing upgraded. Finally, this house was beginning to take shape as a home. But the house isn't the real reason I ended up out west. No. The real reason was to give my fur babies land and to create my own little homestead. I missed the chance to get planting this year, but I did find the time to get some rescue hens. The first step for me was getting the coop put together. I picked a spot on the land close enough to the house but also dry enough and raised so that they wouldn't be waterlogged come winter. It took weeks, but finally I got the coop and the outer run put together, which is no easy feat when you only have one set of hands. And then the big day arrived, and we welcomed our Bennett sisters, or I believe someone said Hennett sisters, to the homestead. They were former battery hens. They'd lived in cramped cages and never had a real chance to touch grass or be real hens. But their life would be different now. Once again, Dad, and this time Mom too, got the call to come help. I needed extra hands to help me fix the fox guard. The area is alive with wildlife, including foxes, mink, and pine martens. So Dad and I got the fox guard on, and so far the hens have been safe. The girls look a little different now. It's a wonder what a bit of love can do. Their feathers have grown back, and Dad likes to tease that they've fattened right up. Each day I get 4 or 5 eggs. They have been the best little additions to our homestead. I was also lucky enough to feature in the Little Hills Animal Rescue yearly calendar. All proceeds go to them helping animals and hens, so if you have the means, I do have the link below in the description where you can purchase one if you want. The animal bug had really bitten at this point, and not a month after the hens arriving, so did our first foster cat. This poor senior girl came to us starving. She'd been locked away in a house with no food after her owner had been taken to the hospital and then an elderly person's home. She was crying and scratching to get out, but no one would help her until the SPCA stepped in. Skin and bones, skin problems, infested with fleas and broken teeth, this sweet girl wasted no time in showing us that Morrigan's cottage was always meant to be her home. Sweet Bridie officially joined our family. There was absolutely no way she was going to be going on to a different home. She was always meant to be ours, and she's doing absolutely brilliant now. Then came foster number 2, a small kitten just needing a place to stay for one night before he went on to his new forever home. And our most recent fosters, Mama Cat Darling and Baby Kitten, number 3 and 4. Both were feral but quickly warmed up to being a part of the family, even if temporarily. Happily, our little baby kitten was adopted by a lovely mom and dad who watch our videos. She's thriving and she's being a little divil just as you'd hope. And shortly after that we had to say goodbye to Mama Cat because she was moving to a home with her biological brother. She's thriving in her new home and couldn't be happier. Even though I bawled crying after handing them both over, I am so happy to see that they are both thriving in their new homes. But the tears couldn't stop me. I had a house to decorate. First I worked on my bedroom. Maybe a controversial decision, but I painted a dark midnight teal. I think at first people weren't so sure of the colour choice, but pairing it with the old stone walls, this colour really shone in the room. And overall I think I won everyone over to this colour. After moving down full time, I really needed to get a washing machine. So I surprised myself by uninstalling the old one, and we all had a good laugh when I turned the water on and the pipe went flying and the water went everywhere. And all by myself, I installed this shiny new one. After that, it was time to get the snug painted. Again, a bit of a controversial colour choice, but I picked a dark green colour and I drenched the room in it. The ceilings, the walls, all the same colour. Some people weren't so sold. But for the cosy winter evenings, there's no place the girls and I like to snuggle up more. Finally, it was time to get the living room painted. Christmas is once again approaching and I couldn't put up my beautiful tree without at least having a base white coat on the walls. So I got to work on that while I had 3 weeks in between jobs. I decided this summer that it was time to finally say goodbye to Dublin for good and move full-time to the cottage. So that meant leaving my job behind. Thankfully, I was lucky enough to find another great job out west, and I've been settling in the last 2 weeks really well. The house wasn't quite feeling like home yet. Despite all the work the builders had done, and despite me painting my bedroom and the snug and getting things ready for Christmas, the house just didn't really feel like mine, and the only way I knew how to fix that was by painting the outside. Now, I didn't get all of the outside done. The back and the side of the house still have yet to be painted, and that will be a spring-summer year 3 problem. But I put my painting clothes on, which apparently is just like any clothes I have anymore, and I got to painting. Gone are the light blue kind of Greek vibe colours I had before, and gone is the yellow and the kind of flaky, dirty dark green that the previous owners had. I have to say, I do actually kind of miss the yellow sometimes, but I am happy the house is painted white. I got the windowsills and the door painted blue. This lovely dark blue that you see is also the same dark blue that I painted the kitchen. And then I did the background coat of white, and I have to say, the house just looks fabulous. And now when I come around the corner, I'm like, oh yeah, that's my house. The blue and white one, that's the house that I built. But even though Christmas is on the mind, it's that time of year that the wild Atlantic storms batter Ireland. Named storm after named storm after named storm have hit us this year, And as best you try prepare, I quickly realised that the one thing I really needed was solar power. You might remember the grant I mentioned in the beginning of the video from year 1. Well, that finally got paid out, and after paying back my loans, I had just enough money left to get the hybrid solar panel system installed. I'm absolutely thrilled with it, and it should be a great backup for the days of power cuts. Never again will this house be without power for 15 days on the trot. But this is where our story of year 2 fades out. The end of November marks the end of another year of transformation here at Morrigan's Cottage. Year 2 here at Morrigan's Cottage was incredibly difficult, to say the least. There were many different losses, hard times, personal changes, injuries, accidents, you name it, we seem to have had it here in year 2 at Morrigan's Cottage. And this was all on top of trying to fix a 200-year-old house that for the previous 30 years or more had been a bit neglected and fixed up very poorly, I think would be a fair way to put it. But we got there, and this house has now become my home. And as you can see beside me, Christmas is back. And now that the house is a home, and the land, even though still wet and boggy, has, the growing point for our future little forest here. And it's where our little hens do their daily pecking and enjoying their life now that they're free from cages. But it's funny to look back and see the first picture of me here on my first night crying over a cold cup of tea, or watching the videos where I'm painting the red and yellow rooms in the first year, or repointing the walls in the bedroom at the very beginning of the second year. It's kind of hard to believe that exactly this time last year, I was repainting that old damp, dank bedroom, and now it's this beautiful deep blue. It's warm, it's cozy, we can put the heating on if we want to get cozier. It's just hard to believe where you watch back from then to now that this is even the same house at all, or that I'm even the same person. I am very easily and very eagerly saying goodbye to year 2, and I am most excitedly going into year 3. There's still so much left to do here at Morrigan's Cottage, whether it's internal finishing touches to the bedroom and the snug, painting and decorating the bathroom, eventually painting here in the living room, getting a new kitchen in, getting my office done, getting a lovely guest bedroom for people to visit, just putting in some internal doors so we can close off all the rooms. Or even more so, I'm excited to move outside and to get a lovely little decking area out the back that I can have barbecues and lounge seats and people over for something to eat. I'm excited to get the vegetable patch growing. I'm excited to get our stables and our sheds rebuilt and new roofs, stronger and better than ever before. I'm looking forward to fencing out the back and fencing all the fields and cutting all the grass and getting drainage in and getting a driveway done. There's just so much left to happen, and whether it's done in year 3 or year 10, I'm just excited to get there now. We've kind of gone up the mountain and now we're at the view at the top. We struggled the whole way up the last 2 years, and now we're at the point where we're kind of at the view of the top and we can kind of see everything and appreciate it and take it all in. Isn't that right? There's so many things still left to look forward to here, and the journey is really just beginning. So Miss Mari and I, we would like to say thank you to everyone who has followed us along for the last 2 years, or if you're newer, welcome and thank you for being with us for as long as you have been. It's been a roller coaster, that's for sure, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but we're finally home and we're happy. And looking back over the last 2 years, it's so crazy to see where we are now to where we were then. I think a big thank you to everyone who does watch. Had no one watched the videos, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have continued with YouTube. It was a way for me to document for myself in the beginning everything that was getting done to the house. But after a couple months, when things weren't really making any progress, I probably would have just stopped. The videos take a lot of time and effort, and if no one was watching, I didn't want to watch any of this back. It was just heartbreaking to watch how hard it was the last 2 years. But actually, it's so great to have, and it's so great to look back and be like, holy moly, lemon cannoli, look at where we are now. to where we were then. So thank you for being with us, and here is to year 3. I'm so looking forward to sharing everything that we do, and yeah, just thank you for being here with us. Please say hi and bye. Thanks, guys. See you in year 3. Yay!